There was a time when I believed the safest way to protect something valuable was to keep it out of view. Not hidden out of fear, simply left untouched. I learned early that some things lose their depth the moment you force them into words. So I stopped explaining myself. I let people believe whatever version of me made sense to them. If they thought I was distant, that was fine. If they mistook my silence for emptiness instead of fullness, I didn't correct them. Because most people don't really see you. They see the story they've already decided to tell about you. They don't seek understanding, they seek categories. It's quicker, easier, and far less demanding. Over time, I accepted that. I learned to translate myself in conversations, deciding how much of the truth each moment could actually hold. Not because I wanted to deceive anyone, but because I knew how easily people misunderstand what doesn't fit their expectations. It became exhausting. Then something changed. There wasn't a dramatic conversation or a life-changing moment. It began with something so quiet I almost missed it. One day, I realized I had spoken freely without constantly editing myself. I hadn't measured every sentence or prepared for every possible misunderstanding. The conversation ended, and only afterward did I notice what hadn't happened. I hadn't been translating. At first, I dismissed it. Everyone has easy conversations sometimes. I assumed it meant nothing, but the feeling stayed. Conversation after conversation, I found myself relaxing in ways I hadn't experienced for years. We didn't always agree. Sometimes our perspectives were completely different. But disagreement never created distance. It never turned into a battle of proving who was right. Instead, there was space for uncertainty, space for silence, space to think without immediately defending every thought that was unfamiliar. I started paying attention, not to you, but to myself. I noticed I no longer felt the need to prove that my words mattered. I wasn't performing understanding anymore. I was simply existing inside it. Most conversations carry invisible pressure. We try to impress, explain, defend, or maintain a consistent version of ourselves. Eventually, people become actors playing themselves so often they forget who they were before the performance began. I'd spent years avoiding that performance, even if it meant being misunderstood. Distance felt lonely sometimes, but pretending felt lonelier. Then, without trying, you reached a place in me I had stopped believing anyone could reach, not emotionally, something deeper. You never claimed to understand me. You never needed to. Real understanding rarely announces itself. It appears in smaller ways, in patience, in timing, in knowing when not to interrupt. I noticed the pauses, the silence that never felt uncomfortable, the careful attention hidden inside ordinary conversations. Nothing dramatic, just precision. And I've always trusted precision more than intensity. Anyone can create intense moments. Very few people consistently pay attention. That's when another realization appeared. I wasn't becoming more open. You were simply noticing what had always been there. There's a difference. People think closeness happens because someone reveals more of themselves. Sometimes nothing new is revealed at all. Sometimes another person simply pays attention to what everyone else overlooked. That kind of attention changes something, slowly, quietly, without asking permission. For a long time, I thought hope had become unrealistic. After enough disappointment, you stop calling it disappointment. You call it realism. You lower your expectations until they feel like wisdom. Then something arrives that doesn't fit your conclusions, not loudly, just consistently, until your certainty begins questioning itself. That's what happened to me. There was no single conversation I could point to. No confession. No defining moment, only a growing awareness that my inner world was changing. The strangest part was that it wasn't built on excitement. Excitement fades when novelty disappears. This became stronger with familiarity. The more time passed, the more accurate it felt. Most relationships become smaller over time because people stop observing. They stop seeing the person and start interacting with the memory they've created instead. But this was different. The more familiar I became, the less reduced I felt. I never felt like a finished story. I felt like someone still being discovered, and there's a quiet respect in that which words can barely describe. I've realized something important. People spend most of their lives searching for certainty, but maybe certainty isn't what we are actually looking for. Maybe what we want is resonance. Certainty answers questions. Resonance changes the questions themselves. It doesn't simply explain your life, it quietly rearranges it. The greatest influence isn't the person who tries to change you, it's the person whose presence allows you to become more honest with yourself, without pressure, without performance, without pretending, because truth doesn't convince. Truth remains, steady, patient, reliable. The world celebrates intensity because it's impossible to ignore, but intensity fades, reliability stays. And in the end, it's not the loud moments that reshape a life, it's the quiet ones that never needed to announce themselves in the first place.